Let's go to Josh, who is an Everton fan, was at the game. Josh, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, it was a disappointing result for you and unsavoury scenes after the game as well.
I can safely say that is the most embarrassed I have been as an Everton fan in my life.
Wow.
Ever. This is a new low point, and I have seen some low points. The board is rotten from the core outwards. There needs some dramatic changes. I have friends who are Burnley fans. I've got friends who are Newcastle fans who are looking up and they're looking at us as a club 14th. Where are we sitting now? 14th, 15th. They 14th. Can overtake us. We're in relegation form at the moment. This is the first time. This is our biggest winless streak in, I think, 16 years.
2016 under Roberto Martinez.
You're bottom of the form table at this moment in time. But Everton are bottom.
We are bottom in the form table out of the top 5 leagues in Europe. It's not just the Premier League. If you check the form for the top 5 leagues in Europe, we are bottom. This is the most embarrassed I've been as an Everton fan in my whole life. And and the question I ask to both of you is, where do we go from here? Where do you see Everton going from here?
I'd stick with Benitez.
You'd stick with Benitez?
I'd stick with Benitez. How much money has he had? 1.75 million, something ridiculous like that.
Have you seen who we've had up front? Have you seen who?
Well, Calvin Lewis been injured all season. What do you want him to do? He's not a magician.
Lewis Dobbin, Ellis Sims, under 23s, yeah? Ellis Sims outscored Mason Greenwood at under 23 level. That must say something, surely. Those statistics, yeah. Put him up front, give him a goal. Rondon offers nothing. He offers nothing. I've watched every game he's played, and when we first signed him from that Chinese team, I've seen what he'd done in the Prem. I thought, he'll be all right. He'll be able to hold up. And he persists on playing him for 90 minutes at a time. Alex Iwobi, that is some of the worst transfer business I've ever seen.
You can't blame Rafa for that because he wasn't there, was he?
I know.
So who are you blaming for these signings previous?
I can't blame Rafa for that at all. But I can't.
You aren't playing. Right, the bottom line is you aren't playing well, right? But as I've said before, what about previous? Who's accountable for all these transfers? You can't just look at Rafa all the time. You've had Carlo Ancelotti, you've had Koeman, you've had top managers, Roberto Martinez.
You're right. No.
So what is it down to?
You are right there. You are right there. It's down to Marcel Brands, our footballing director. Have you seen? So if you look at how much we've spent as a club in the last 5 to 6 years, you'll know yourself. We have spent some silly money on players that are just not up to the gravy, overpaying for players. Cenk Tosun, Umar Niasse, Iwobi. So many players, and it's Marcel Brands, that's our footballing director. I remember when he came in after Farhad Moshiri came in, yeah? He came from Arsenal, he had a lot of money, and we were all excited as a club. It's almost like what's happened with Newcastle now. All the Saudis are coming in, they're excited, it's a bit of money. Our money has been spent in...
You have to spend it wisely. Yeah, you have to spend it wisely.
And it hurts us as a team because I see us as a team. I don't know how you see us, but I see us fighting for those... that European spot. I've seen us in Europe and we had
Josh, you're only 6 points off 6th. I know the form is shocking at the minute, but it can be turned around. You're 6 points off 6th.
Do you understand
couple of
the
wins.
frustration of Everton fans, though? Do you understand why everyone's booing everyone?
Of course. I totally get it because Everton should be, up there and should be doing better. But you have to look at the facts. Rafa Benitez comes in. And the chips are down with him instantly because of the past he's had with Liverpool. But he's had injuries, terrible injuries. He's had suspensions. And they've spent 1.75 million quid. Come on, you can't compete in Europe on 1.75 million quid.
I've seen some of the decisions that he's been making as a manager, and I'm thinking, this winless run, how many losses are we to have before something changes? How long are we supposed to stick with him for? We keep losing. Have you seen the next 5 games we've got? Yeah. Arsenal at home, Chelsea away, Crystal Palace away, Leicester at home. I can see us getting a grand total of 0 to 1 points there if we're lucky.
Yeah, but it wouldn't surprise me for Rafa Benitez to produce something. You go on a win on a winning streak. But that's how Rafa Benitez is.
Who's scoring goals?
Well, Richarlison should be turning up. You tonight. I know you're angry, Josh, and I agree with you to a certain extent. But I also think if you've brought in Rafa, you have to stick with him. You haven't backed him. You haven't backed him at all. So he hasn't been able to bring in the players that he probably wanted to bring in. I thought they were quite cute bringing in Damari Gray and Andros Townsend. Definitely. I thought they weren't bad signings. Yeah, they weren't bad. They weren't bad signings. So you can't blame everything on Rafa. I think you need to. The board haven't been good enough.
Calvin Lewin makes a massive difference to you, doesn't he?
I will agree with you. I've been quite directive at Rafa because Rafa is what people will initially blame, but now it's going beyond that. I feel like I've experienced the same season of football for 5 years in a row. You get your hopes up and it just gets crushed. It's the board, and I agree with you up until a certain point. It's probably not Rafa's fault directly, and it's not. His spending, what he got was fuck all. Excuse my language. He didn't get any funding, but the board, I feel like I'm experiencing, it's almost like deja vu.